to sharpen each other to ensure that the profession grows. My dear Chairman, I need you to time me because I can go on. Okay. One of the things that as I welcome you in this annual seminar are the things that work for us. There is a new tool and it will be launched. There is a new aspect that we are putting into among ourselves. As we continue to grow, we have seen that also challenges of life come around. So we have a benevolent fund, and there will be a launch of the benevolent fund. But I just want you to encourage you to be charitable in your way for your fellow accountants. This time I'm very selfish. We have to be charitable among ourselves because I see you do very charitable activities to the others and you are uncharitable to yourselves. So it's my request that you kindly become charitable among ourselves and be able to work within us. Our theme this financial year, this annual seminar, is rooted in driving sustainability and trust. Encompasses subjects of driving sustainability, and I wish to make a call to the members to get involved in serving communities through our regional member networks. Some people have been asking what are regional member networks. They are properly constituted cluster of members from various regions. There are 12 regions, and within those regions, members come together. You are entitled to be in at most 2, not more than 2, and those regional members are driving the profession at that other angle. So please, with our renewed drive as the profession, we invite you to participate in charitable activities at the communities to impact our communities. It is through that we'll show our relevance. We must take action in supporting the people we live with and be seen as a respectable profession in the body, in the country. I salute you for your dedicated work, and I know finance teams all over the world work as hard as possible. And I developed a mantra which says, show me a good company and I will show you a good finance team. So I salute you in all the works you do, and kindly continue doing that good work. As I welcome you again, I would like to welcome our partners. This is I think the annual seminar with the biggest number of partners. We have over 30 partners that helped us to put this annual seminar together. I welcome you, our dear partners. Without your support, this annual seminar may not look the way it's looking right now. So you are part of the accountancy profession journey in Uganda, and I would like to thank you so much for your generosity. But I also like to thank the entities that send our delegates. Most of you are here because of your entities, not directly because of you. So I would like to thank the government of Uganda for enabling that, at least to have a vote for training or capacity building that you use. And I thank the accountants who ensure that that vote always has money. Please, when you are budgeting, budget for yourselves. Because I have seen other people complaining that they have no money to come and say, did you do a budget? And say, yes. Did you put a line for yourself? And they said, no, we didn't. So please, budget for learning and development to ensure that the profession can grow. With those many remarks, I welcome you to the 29th annual seminar, and I wish you a productive and inspiring 29th annual seminar. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Derek, for your remarks. Dear distinguished members, in our presence, we also have the chief guest, but I'll leave the intro to our president, who I would like to invite for to come and give us her remarks, welcome us, and also welcome our chief guest. Thank you, Madam President.
Good morning. A louder one. Good morning. That sounds better. That is more like the accountants I know. And thank you all for being here. Our chief guest, Mrs. Allen Kagina, the Executive Director of Uganda National Roads Authority, the President of Pan-African Federation of Accountants. I don't know if Mrs. Keto Kayemba is here. The CEO of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Rwanda, members of the ICPA Council, members of committees of ICPAU, our guest speakers, ICPAU past presidents, CPA participants and the participants in person and online, media practitioners, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a delight for me to welcome you to this 29th annual seminar. And this time we've had quite a number of people, a record number of people. I think we're almost hitting 2,000. And I know that some of you are meeting here for the first time. I know I have my people here who, this is our meeting place. Once a year, we meet at the annual seminar. So thank you all for coming, for socializing as well. First of all, I would like to recognize in a special way Mrs. Keto Kayemba, CPA Keto Kayemba. I'm not sure if she's in the room yet. But I would just like to thank her for honoring the invitation to come when she will be here. And it's a good thing that the PAFA board has approved the establishment of a Center of Excellence for Sustainability. And as we pronounce ourselves today on the adoption of the sustainability disclosure standards in Uganda, this is a timely development that will contribute towards building capacity for the implementation of the standards, and the Institute commits to supporting PAFA in achieving the goal of this significant initiative. We are also honored to have in our midst our past presidents, CPA George Egadu, I think he may be online, some of them are online, CPA David Opio-Okello, CPA Joseph Balidawa, CPA Ben Patrick Kagoro. For those who are in the room, please wave to us. CPA Protaz Begmisa, CPA Frederick Chivedi, now has become an author as well. And also, we also have the interim secretary during the formative years of the Institute, CPA Ben Okelolo. I think I saw him. Yes. I would also like to extend a special Ugandan welcome to our colleagues from the East African Community Institutes of Accountants, and I would request them to wave to the audience. IC Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, Mr. Enoch Orina, Miss Esther Mwangi, Miss Linda Waga, and Ms. Vanice Moia. From the National Board of Accountants and Auditors of Tanzania, we have Mr. Charles Masabo, together with Ms. Susanna Bundala and Ms. Willie Tueshime. We also have Ms. Marie Claudine Nijimbire from OPC Burundi. Karibuni sana, another round of applause for them. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate ICPA Rwanda and the president here, Mr. Amin Marango is here. Please wave to the public. They've been selected to host the 8th edition of the Africa Congress of Accountants. So please, we are looking forward to seeing you in Rwanda to support ICPA Rwanda. And also OPC Burundi has been selected to host the 5th East African Congress of Accountants. So all roads are leading to Burundi and Rwanda next year. And the Africa Congress of Accountants is between the 6th and the 9th of May 2025. So we do have enough time to plan and ensure that we are there. We believe these events will be significant avenues for networking and professional development across the region and the continent. And so we are calling upon new members to turn up in good numbers like you did last time. I think last time we were the biggest delegation when we went to Rwanda for the East Africa Congress of Accountants. I would also like to congratulate our Auditor General, who was recently appointed, CPA Edward Akol. He was appointed the Auditor General of Uganda, but I'm not seeing him here right now. But he had said that he would be here. So our chief guest, for 29 years now, the Institute has organized an annual seminar, which is a dynamic platform which has proliferated into the largest gathering of professionals in the country, attracting over 1,800 participants every year. And the annual seminar was really introduced as an avenue for accountants to expand knowledge beyond the technical aspects of our profession. So the topics usually feature leadership, health, personal finance, entrepreneurship, relationships, and climate, among others. And the seminar equips the professionals with vital life skills. The goal is really to spur holistic professional development while providing unique opportunities for members to connect. So a big thank you to all of you for registering and coming for this seminar. The theme for the 29th annual seminar is Driving Sustainability and Trust, and this underpins critical pillars of our profession. In an era marked by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, accountants play a pivotal role in supporting organizations to stay ahead of the currents. I serve on the Professional Accountants in Business Advisory Group of IFAC, and when we met earlier this year, our focus was on the critical role that accountants play in driving growth and sustainability across a range of economies. So we identified 5 areas of influence, and these are building capital market efficiency and transparency through high quality information and reporting, providing sustainable financing, greater regional integration, enabling business and entrepreneurial growth, and transforming public sector decision making. The full paper is on the website of the International Federation of Accountants, and at this seminar we'll unpack some of these and explore more other approaches for enhancing trust and driving the sustainability of organizations. So ladies and gentlemen, this year's annual seminar has a unique blend of activities, and the key highlight is the Institute's pronouncement on the adoption of the sustainability disclosure standards in Uganda. This landmark development is envisaged to promote consistent and comparable disclosures of sustainability and climate-related risks and opportunities, aligning closely with the theme of this year's seminar. And we will be greatly honored to have Dr. Ndindi Noli Edozien, a member of the International Sustainability Standards Board, who will give us a keynote address, and she will be speaking to us shortly. So the Council has also made a pronouncement on the adoption of the international standards on auditing for audits of financial statements of less complex entities, and the pronouncement guides on the circumstances when practicing members may use the standard. At this seminar, we'll also relaunch the Benevolent Fund. The ICPOU Benevolent Fund is a charity organization established to provide bereavement support to ICPAU members and staff. And this fund reflects our commitment to fostering a sense of community and family among ourselves and ensuring that we stand with each other in the life's most challenging moments. So members, please, you're encouraged to join the fund. All you need to contribute is 50,000 shillings, and then you'll be enrolled in the fund. They'll be coming to talk about that a little later, and they'll give you the details of how you can actually pay the 50,000 shillings annually per year. Ladies and gentlemen, in June this year, John Bosco Ntangari. John, can you stand up? John is the Institute's former Director of Education. So all of you who've done exams, you know John, yeah? John retired from the service of the Institute after an impressive 26 years. And as I've said, John has impacted many of us in one way or the other, and I'm happy to share that on the evening of Friday 6th, as we close the seminar, we are going to have an opportunity to honor JB. So I'm calling upon all of you to please come, attend that event, so that we can just celebrate JB for the dedication, the hard work, and the impactful service that he has given to the Institute. We do have Accountancy Service Awards, and it's our cherished tradition to recognize and honor individuals and entities that make outstanding contributions to the field of accountancy through the prestigious Accountancy Service Awards. So this year we've taken it a notch higher, and in a selfish way, we have introduced a special category for Women Accountant of the Year. So this year we want to honor the women in a special way. And a big thank you to all of you who participated in the nomination exercise. So please, again, Friday, come and let's celebrate the awardees. To our partners, we have a number of partners who have supported us, as the CEO mentioned, and I would just like to recognize each one of them and to thank them for responding to our call. In the gold category, we have the Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited. I hope they are in the room. Thank you. For silver, we have the support of Bank of Uganda, Deposit Protection Fund, MTN Uganda. Please do clap for them. Kampala Capital City Authority, National Social Security Fund, Airtel Uganda, KPMG, Uganda Development Bank, Abi Finance Limited, and the National Agricultural Advisory Services. Your contributions have made this possible. Please give them another round of applause. Then in the bronze category, we have Endeavor Africa, Ernst & Young, Ediomu and Company, Kalinda and Associates, Centenary Road Development Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, Forvis Mazars, Insurance Regulatory Authority, Crowe AIA, Grant Thornton, Baker Tilly, HEM LLP, Post Bank Uganda, Electricity Regulatory Authority, Kakira Sugar Limited, Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, Mengo Hospital, Uganda Electricity Transmission Company. Again, another round of applause for those people. We also have other sponsors, the Uganda Law Reform Commission, Summit Consulting and Sebuma and Associates. We are grateful, and as the CEO said, I think this year is where we've gotten really a big number of sponsors, and we look to even receiving more sponsorship in future events. So please do make a point to visit their exhibition stalls and to interact with what they have to offer. So at this point, I'll then like to hand back to our chairman for this session, and he will take us then to the next session before our chief guest. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and our audience for listening in attentively. We have a slight change in our program for this morning. Whereas we had prepped to have the official opening by the chief guest between 9:30 and 10, and thereafter have the keynote address. Because of time constraints, we are going to swap that because the keynote address is being presented online, and we're not able to hold on the presenter. So kindly bear with us. At exactly 10 IT, 5 minutes to 10, we should be rolling out to listen to Dr. Ndidi Noli Edozien. She's a member of the International Sustainability Standards Board since 15th July 2022. Her career has been focused on building connections between business and sustainable development, working across multinational and indigenous companies, public institutions, and civil society organizations in Africa and Europe to initiate sustainable development initiatives. She served as the inaugural Group Chief Sustainability and Governance Officer of Dangote Industries Limited, one of Africa's largest manufacturing businesses, from 2017 to 2020. Dr. Noli Edozien has a PhD in social ethics, cultural adaptation, sustainability and governance from the Johann Wolfgang Goethe University in Germany. Members, the brief profile is in the seminar guidebook on page 24, but for some of us as accountants and auditors, we are used to the practice that even if we have published our opinions as part of the packs, we still have to read the opinion so that we own it. So I had to take us through this so that we can confirm that this is the profile we have. So in the meantime, IT, if you can start the connection, please.
Dr. Ndidi Noli Edozien is a full-time member of the International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB, since 15th July 2022. Her career has been focused on building connections between business and sustainable development, working across multinational and indigenous companies, public institutions, and civil society organizations in Africa and Europe to initiate sustainable development initiatives. She served as the inaugural Group Chief Sustainability and Governance Officer of Dangote Industries Limited, one of Africa's largest manufacturing businesses, from 2017 to 2020. Dr. Noli Edozien has a PhD in social ethics, cultural adaptation, sustainability and governance from Johann Wolfgang Both University in Germany.
Dr. Ndidi,
Yes, I can hear
welcome.
you.
You're most welcome to join us.
Thank you very much. You can hear me?
Yeah, sure, we can hear you.
Thank you for the kind introduction. It's an absolute honor to be here today. Would you like me to commence?
Please commence.
Okay. Let me commence by honoring the distinguished audience, His Excellency the President, who will be launching the standards. I would like to commend you on the public consultation, which incidentally closed on my birthday. And I'd like to apologize for not being with you in person. In fact, my mother has recently passed, and today is one of the important ceremonial rites that we know on the African continent is so important that we honor. And so I want to crave your indulgence for not being with you in person, and also honor her in this moment by saying that even though she was born German, she embraced Africa completely and will actually be buried next to my father in the village, in the earth. And I start with this because I just want to say that sustainability and everything that I will speak about, and I have been in this field for the last 25 years, and I must say that I learned sustainability from the village, from the simplest of our brothers and sisters, because it's actually native to who we are and how we live. It's also the reason why our emissions on the African continent are less than 5% of global emissions. And yet, as we know, the climate related and sustainability related risks on the continent are significant. And we at the ISSB with IFRS S1 and S2, which I will be speaking about now, are really focused on looking at sustainability related risks, building on what the IFRS Foundation has done and Africa has led on regarding accounting standards, to write in this language to capture sustainability related and climate related risks in the first instance, and in the future agenda priorities, we're already working on human capital, which we know Africa has in abundance, and also biodiversity, ecosystem, and ecosystem services. And Africa's voice has been absolutely influential in shaping the way that these standards have evolved. And it's an absolute honor to be working with you to embrace these standards and ensure that the appropriate capacity building is done to make sure that we are actually in the lead and continue to be in the lead in this regard. Now, I'm going to pause for a second and actually try to connect the slides, if I can get that done. And if not, I'm going to ask for support in that regard. I don't know if you can see the slides now. Mosi, are the slides showing? I think you might have to help me look at this quickly.
Sorry, can't see the slides, yes?
You can see the slides now?
We are not able to see the slides, yes.
You're not able to see the slides, Mosi. You might have to come and help me with this. Okay, so we're going to make the slides work, but in the interim, I will continue with the presentation.
Please.
So from our perspective, We welcomed Uganda to join us in May amidst 23 other African countries to look at the adoption of the ISSB standards and the progress that we've made across the African continent, and to confirm that what we're doing is developing standards and supporting you on your journey so that these standards are not just interoperable with, wrong slide, not this one, it's the other one. Not just interoperable with this one. Not just interoperable with the other standards that you're familiar with, but also ensuring that we're able to provide the necessary capacity building support over time to ensure that adoption for corporates, whether voluntary or mandatorily driven by the regulator, is proportionate, cost effective, and useful in terms of being and providing decision useful information that's required by investors to unlock capital flows. Let me just confirm that you can actually see the slides now.
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Awesome. And so in that regard, I'm going to start with the anchor of who we are. Namely, we're writing these standards as the International Sustainability Standards Board, which sits alongside the International Accounting Standards Board. So as accountants, you're very familiar already with this structure and the fact that we use all the appropriate due governance strategy, oversight, accountability to oversee the development of and the due process for the publication of these standards and their use. Why? Because of strong market demand from G20, G7, IOSCO, the Financial Stability Board, reducing the alphabet soup of voluntary initiatives to create an efficient reporting landscape and provide decision useful comparable information that can be used by investors. And that's especially important for the African continent. In this regard, we can talk about the what, namely that we serve capital markets, global capital markets. So it's not just that the ISSB provides the comprehensive global baseline through the standards that we issue, but also, as we will find out in a moment, that IOSCO has endorsed these standards. And I must say that yesterday I was at the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria's like webinar, which they started running for industries. So they've run one for the banking sector, they've run one for yesterday for the oil and gas and the telecommunications sector. And they said very expressively that at the IOSCO meeting, the ISSB chair lauded Nigeria and Africa for leading in terms of the adoption of the standards and also really providing very, very valuable input to ensure that our standards continue to be proportionate and useful for larger entities, but also smaller entities across the value chains and supply chains. Assurance, as you know, is very important. Again, very strong accounting practice influencing there. And so that is a very important part of the journey. And as you already know, IESPA and IAASB are actually doing work on building these audit and assurance standards. Jurisdictions across Africa, we convened 23 such countries, Uganda being one of them in May. And next year, again, at the Accountants Congress at the ACOA, we will convene again all together to have a conversation around, and we will be joined by, I'm pretty sure, the chair of the International Accounting Standards Board and members of both the Accounting Standards Board and ISSB representing Africa at the ACOA conference next year. And we're looking forward to celebrating Uganda and its strides in this regard. And of course, what's very important is the voluntary adoption of the standards, which is a phased approach. The standard setting cycle you're very familiar with because you're familiar with it from the accounting standards. And this is exactly the process that we follow from the ISSB. In the ISSB's case in particular, we had a 120-day consultation, 400 outreach sessions, 1,400 responses. And that really helped us guide some of the key principles we deploy, like interoperability, we'll talk about that, proportionality mechanisms, and transitional reliefs, which it is within the purview of your jurisdiction to choose in accordance with what suits your adoption journey the best. And also some things that's very specific to us are our industry-based disclosures, which is a very important proportionality tool for what we're doing. What was also very important for us very early on was the endorsement from the African Ministers of Finance, which happened in September 2022. And really, it was the African Ministers of Finance and their endorsement before the first COP after we were born, which was at COP26, so before the COP27. The reason why we went there, one, to say that we're going to be prioritizing capacity building and strong advisory support, is because of the urging of the African finance ministers to prioritize this in the work that we do. So definitely we're very, very much listening to the continent. And again, I repeat that I would have loved to be with you in person. And I sincerely apologize that I'm not there with you now. And I hope at the very latest, at the next ACOA, possibly even before, that I will get to sit down and speak with you, engage with you in person. And in your honor also at the World Standard Setters on Sunday evening, I know that Uganda is going to be present at this meeting. We're going to host a small dinner, and I'm looking forward to meeting with Charles then. IOSCO endorsed the ISSB standards in 2023. And again, as accountants, you know that the last time IOSCO made this kind of an endorsement, and the only other time, was with the IASB, with the IFRS Foundation's accounting standards. And now they have done so with the ISSB's sustainability standards. And this is a very important step towards ensuring the connectivity between sustainability-related financial disclosures that are supposed to be part and parcel of the general purpose financial statements that we're already so familiar with. So we're very, very much building on what already exists and what already is. This was 2023 and 2024. I'm very glad to say that we have 20 key jurisdictions already embracing the ISSB standards. And this essentially accounts for 55% of gross GDP globally, 40% of global market capitalization, and if we exclude the US market, that's 75%, and 50% of greenhouse gas emissions globally. So in other words, we are beginning to build that global baseline, and that's also thanks to the work and the input and the feedback that we've received from the African continent, who at the COP27, the first COP that we attended, after a constituted ISSB board. It's the reason why the country and the continent that was announced by the ISSB chair on stage was the African continent. So you've been on this journey from the beginning. That way also, what's really important to us, because there are certain standards that have a specific influence on the African continent, and I speak in this regard on the European standards, because we do a lot of trade with Europe, or for example, GRI, that a lot of the African countries have been working with. We've worked very hard to ensure that we are working with different standards that exist, and indeed to reduce the alphabet of soup of standards, so that really reporting is cost effective and decision useful. So just to underscore the fact that we walk our talk, 31st of July 2024, this year, is when your own public consultation closed. It's my birthday, so I'll always remember. And last year, it was that the European Commission, IFRAG, and ISSB confirmed a high degree of alignment in climate-related disclosure requirements. Again, an important part of the journey towards our alphabet soup. This is what we said a year ago, and in 2024, we actually published the ESRS and ISSB Standards Interoperability Guide. So what's very important to us is that when we say what we mean, we do it and we follow through on it. And we're 100% committed in that regard to supporting African countries and Uganda in particular on her journey. This also applies to the international infrastructure. So we're working and supporting the IAASB in developing the assurance standards, and of course also IASPA in terms of the ethics and independence standards. And these are all building also on the ISSB standards. So I'm trying to give you the comfort actually that you are working with standards that have global applicability, but also belong to the African continent. They're influenced by what we say, by what we do, by the input that we give, and we are committed as the ISSB to continue to provide capacity building support to you on this journey, whether that has to do with jurisdictional adoption or regulatory adoption tools, or whether it has to do with capacity building in terms of the use of the standards and the industry-specific standards, all the way we're there with you. I want to talk a little bit about connectivity between the IASB and the ISSB because that's very important. And there again, I want to call on our partnership with the African Development Bank, who we are working with because we both are on the same page around helping to direct public and private finance where it is needed most on the African continent, and also understanding that it's so important that sustainability reporting standards complement the existing financial reporting standards. So the role of accountants, of CFOs, of all of the finance division in terms of collaborating with risk and sustainability within organizations, and the role of the regulator, ICPAO in this instance, in terms of leading this, not just within the accounting profession and within corporates, but actually in collaboration with many other regulators in the country, so that really we're able to achieve ISSB standards application that is decision useful, able to unlock capital flows, but also cost effective, so that the undue cost and burden on preparers is not unnecessarily high. And very important also is the fact that we have absorbed and taken on board a range of standards that are already existing and that are already in use, including in the integrated reporting, where integrated thinking is so important, and the process of value creation as a result of the sustainability standards is absolutely key. So it's not just about compliance, it's also about creating value and identifying risks, but also opportunities for businesses that can help with economic growth. And for this reason is the reason why we're so embedded and committed to connectivity between the IASB and the ISSB, not just in terms of processes, but also in terms of products and the connections in the general purpose financial statements. And you will find this work all the way through our work, and increasingly you will find as accountants that you will become familiar with the sustainability disclosure standards. So I just want to stop at this point and say courage, because the sustainability standards, the ISSB standards, as you would already have been realizing, are written very much in accounting language. They're very much designed for communication to investors and inspiring one set of general purpose financial statements that also include sustainability and climate related risks, so that we end up with a current, coherent reporting package that ensures that sustainability related and climate related data is current. That is at the same reporting period and published at the same time as the general purpose financial statements. The standards are written so that they are a building block, so that you can really build on jurisdiction specific requirements as well, and also are building on existing standards like the SASB standards, the integrated reports, the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, the 4 pillars which you already know of governance, strategy, risks, targets, and metrics, and the TCFD, of course, handed over the legacy of their work to the ISSB, which is a great honor to us. We also embraced and adopted the CDSB as part of the IFRS Foundation, and the industry-specific standards actually provide a tool that help investors analyze companies and portfolios, which they generally do by industry. So this way, these disclosures being embedded in the ISSB standards improve the decision usefulness and the cost effectiveness of the standards. In this way, the IFRS Foundation and the SASB standards work strongly together to ensure that the industry-based climate-related topics and metrics, as well as the general sustainability-related topics and metrics, provide you with not just guidance that are required to be considered as you prepare your financial statements, but they also find and give you an easy way to understand the metrics that are important to investors as they evaluate your companies and your industries to determine where capital is to be unlocked. I'm going to give you a very quick overview of IFRS S1 and IFRS S2, just for those who are not as familiar. And I often say that IFRS S1 is very much like IAS 1 and IAS 8. So it asks for disclosure of material information about sustainability related risks and opportunities. It applies the TCFD infrastructure. It requires industry specific disclosures and can be used in conjunction with any accounting requirements. But of course, if you're using the IASB standards, then it's even more familiar. It describes sustainability as the ability to deliver value for investors, which is inextricably linked to stakeholders, society, and the economy in which it operates, and the natural resources which it draws on. And of course, our definition of material sustainability is exactly the same as you're familiar with in the accounting standards. And so in that regard, also, we work very hard with the European standards setters to ensure that their definition of materiality is also the same. So you can begin to see how that interoperability actually helps to create that global baseline. These four pillars, governance, strategy, risk management, metrics, and targets, are borrowed from the TCFD, and they underline both IFRS S1 and IFRS S2. And of course, both standards have guidance, which help in terms of how these standards can be applied, should be applied, and are a very important capacity building mechanism. They respond to questions like when to start to apply IFRS S1 and S2, and they also provide details of the reliefs for the first year of application. For example, in terms of scope 3, disclosure is not required in the first year, and really there is a lot of leverage and discretion allowed to the jurisdictional leads, ICPAO in this instance, to determine how transitional reliefs are applied. We have a transitional relief of 1 year on IFRS S1. However, it needs to be applied together with IFRS S2, which is focused on climate-related financial disclosures. Again, providing material information about climate-related risks and opportunities, and again, requiring industry-specific disclosures. Building very much on the TCFD 4 pillars, which I spoke about earlier, and also focusing primarily on evaluating the ability of a company to adopt its planning, business model, and operations to climate-related risks and opportunities. And we all know that climate has a direct impact on our work, also on our value chain actors. And so understanding these climate-related risks and opportunities is a very critical point to actually building resilience into our companies going forward, and also ensuring climate-related transition planning, which is also essential in terms of unlocking capital flows. Why we need S1 is outlined in this particular slide. The slides are a little bit more extensive so that when you receive them, you can actually use them as guidance going forward. So of course, S1 covers significant overarching requirements that are deployed in S2. And so even though we have a transitional relief on the use of S1, which is the overall sustainability related requirements in the first year, even in applying IFRS S2, you will still find it very useful. And in fact, it's required, for example, to address things like when disaggregation is needed and is applicable, the timing of reporting, for instance, how to work with changes in estimates and errors. All of this is contained in IFRS S1 and is then applied to IFRS S2, which again uses exactly the same 4 pillars of governance, strategy, risk management, metrics, and targets as S1. To give you a quick overview of what S2 looks like, it really focuses on 6 key areas: strategy and decision making, which really talks to how is the company responding to or planning to respond to climate-related risks and opportunities. Current and anticipated financial effects, which is very important and is captured both quantitatively and qualitatively. So in other words, bear in mind that there is a proportionality mechanism built into these standards so that because on the African continent, very often data is an issue, qualitatively is an easy inroad, and I will share that briefly here. When we talk about climate resilience assessments, for example, which is an important part of S2, you can see that the TCFD stages of progression have been built as proportionality as an approach into scenario analysis. So if you are just beginning, you can actually begin with more qualitative information, and then as you gain experience, become more advanced and become more quantitative. Greenhouse gas emission disclosures is a very important part of S2, and it goes beyond scope 1 and scope 2 to also cover scope 3. There is a 1-year transition on scope 3, and then also just to give the assurance, scope 3 is something that the entire world is actually struggling with. But we know that we're not going to be able to capture appropriately greenhouse gas emissions and the risks associated therewith unless we're capturing scope 3. So we have voted for that to be mandatory as part of the disclosures of IFRS S2, but with the appropriate transitional relief. I spoke already about industry-specific requirements. These are very, very important for us, again, as a proportionality tool, reducing the cost and minimizing the noise by focusing on the most relevant information in a specific industry. So if you haven't looked at the industry-specific standards yet, please pick them up. And again, thank you very much for the input provided in terms of the internationalization of those standards, because Africa's voice bore in very heavily and very strongly in terms of ensuring that we are making these standards much more internationally applicable. And lastly, of course, it's the climate-related targets. That's a very important part. IFRS S2 also has guidance, and now I want to speak a little bit about ISSB in service of the African continent. I think I have about 15 minutes left to speak. I assure you I will complete on time so that we can do the formal launch. So the African continent has been a critical stakeholder from the very beginning, and it will continue to be a very important stakeholder for us at the IFRS Foundation. Your voice really matters, but it's only tangible when you actually engage and participate, which is why I'm so thrilled that a significant number of African countries will be coming to the World Standard Setters, and I'm really looking forward to welcoming Uganda later on this month. And I'm hoping that through a lot of peer review sessions and interactive sessions with leaders on the African continent actually also learning from one another, that voice can become increasingly heard. Building on the African Ministers of Finance in September 2022, which has guided our work, I'm looking forward also to more engagements together with the African Development Bank and Pan-African actors like AFIR, the AU, PAFA as well, that we will work with all of you at the latest coming together as a group at ACOA in May next year, but hopefully even before then, virtually and physically, to ensure that we continue to influence the way that these standards are shaped. I had mentioned earlier that 7 countries we had launched IFRS S1 and S2. It's quite significant that 2 of those countries were in Africa. So 2 out of 7 were on the African continent. Africa has actually significantly influenced the proportionality measures and mechanisms that have been built into the standards and the fact that they have been prioritized. We have looked specifically at emerging market challenges, for example, data and knowledge and skill set requirements to shape our capacity building measures and to ensure that we're improving the general knowledge and skill sets, working specifically with accountants as well, and providing the necessary support to ensure preparedness and inclusion of key actors. Also, one of the things that we have prioritized is ensuring that we address the indirect or poor linkage between sustainability-related financial disclosures and capital flows, and also address, for example, the improvement of risk perception by ensuring that better data and better reporting actually makes sure that Africa is better represented, so that we're actually positioning the African continent to leapfrog on the back of the development and engagement with the ISSB standards. We do believe that this positions the African continent to leapfrog. And again, when you look at things like the Transition Implementation Group, and you look at the fact that there are 2 African countries, again, out of 17 members, that are helping to shape and receive feedback from the implementers and preparers of the ISSB standards to ensure that we are constantly responding to the market. I'm giving you an overview of the 23 countries that were represented in recently when we met in Mauritius, and also the 25 African exchanges who we engaged last year and will be engaging again this year, many of who endorsed the ISSB standards during the last COP. We also have held several peer learning and problem solving initiatives that we're building on, for example, on the digital taxonomy, where South Africa and Mauritius is leading and has offered to play a peer learning engagement role to ensure that we can leverage the digital taxonomy to better be able to access information. If you take that as a case in point, Africa contributed 14% of the comment letters on the ISSB digital taxonomy, as a result of which one of the things that the IFRS Foundation decided is that we should start simple to ensure that the global applicability of the taxonomy is possible. And especially in countries where digital reporting is not currently implemented. If Africa's voice had not been so strong, this would not have been the case. And we truly believe that digital reporting can enable and assist with the leapfrogging of the African continent, providing benefits for investors, companies, but also for regulators in terms of being able to better collate the information and compare information from the market. Likewise, also, we do believe that AI, and I was recently at the Engage Africa conference organized by SEMA. I gave the opening keynote there, and the keynote immediately after mine was about AI and the way artificial intelligence can actually help the African continent leapfrog and cover some of those gaps. My favorite example there is always, I used to be a regulator in my last life. I was a regulator in the telecommunications sector. This was in 2006. And prior to the adoption of the GSM technology, in our country, in Nigeria, we had for 40 years only 400,000 lines. And then within a decade, we were actually able to achieve 100 million lines. That kind of leapfrogging is what we can build on with technology. And so in terms of concluding now, I just want to say that the ISSB standards can deliver for investors, for companies, and for financial markets. And so working within Uganda, not just the regulator, ICPAO, who oversees the accounting standards and now also the sustainability standards. But what's also very important is that you reach out, for example, to the central bank and to the exchanges and to the Securities and Exchange Commission or even the insurance regulators, so that all the regulators in country are working in alignment to ensure that companies have a more cost-effective way of applying these standards and they're able to speak to investors, because our objective is to ensure that we're unlocking capital flows through improved transparency and through a better cognizance of sustainability-related risks and opportunities, because we believe this will very strongly contribute to long-term financial sustainability. In terms of our priorities going forward, our highest level of focus is on supporting the implementation of IFRS S1 and S2. And we're also focusing very much on enhancing the SASB, that's the industry standards, to ensure that we're able to support you on your journey in this regard. three activities that are fundamental to all the work that we do is interoperability with other standard setting initiatives. And I had mentioned a few, GRI, for example, but also the Transition Plan Task Force and the European standards. We're working with all of those, and of course, integrated reporting as well. Connectivity with the accounting standards is absolutely essential to what we do, and you will see that emerge even more in the coming months and years. There's an exposure draft currently that has been issued by the IASB related to climate-related risks. And lastly, of course, stakeholder engagement is absolutely fundamental to our work, and your feedback, especially in terms of the applicability of our proportionality measures that we've built in. In terms of new research and standard setting projects, as mentioned earlier, we're working on human capital, as well as human rights in the value chain and in the workplace, and also on biodiversity ecosystems and ecosystem services, which is a huge opportunity and advantage for the African continent. Our four-pillar strategy to support the adoption and the use is one, the proportionality and the guidance that's already built into the standards. Transitional reliefs with the possibility of jurisdictional extensions. This is within the purview of ICPAO in Uganda. Adoption guide to ensure that we're supporting scalability and jurisdictional phasing in. We're currently in the process of developing a toolkit that we believe will be very useful in terms of the adoption of the standards and the implementation thereof. And very, very importantly, providing capacity building support for companies and regulators, and we want to be your partner in this regard. It's for this reason that we've developed the Knowledge Hub, which supports the application of the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards. There's actually a QR code here on the hyperlink, so that when you get these slides, you can actually very easily go in there. And we're always looking for feedback. I'm actually sitting in the room with Mosi, my colleague, and we're working very closely on this on a daily basis to ensure that we're also developing continuously material. We've received also from a number of people very strong interest on exactly how does integrated reporting and the ISSB standards, how does that work together? And so because of the strength of that input, because of course there are close to 3,000 users of the integrated reporting standards, we have specific FAQs on integrated reporting, and we have an integrated reporting getting started guide as well, which was recently published. So likewise, if we find that there's a particular area of prioritization, this is something that we can always take up and work on. In terms of the 2024 ISSB priorities, as I'd mentioned, we are very much focusing on IFRS S1 and S2 so that we're really providing the educational material and support and capacity building to ensure that we are all on the same page. And we're listening very strongly through various mechanisms and tiers, for example, the Transition Implementation Group, where Africa has 2 representatives, to ensure that there is a public forum for implementation questions that are addressed on a regular basis and also published. It's a very informative forum where we learn a lot. The digital taxonomy is a priority for us, also for the African continent, because we've received a lot of interest in this regard. We're aware that the infrastructure for building the digital taxonomy can be expensive, and so we're hoping that through peer support on the continent, we can find cost-effective ways to support you in perhaps common brainstorming and thinking through how that digital taxonomy infrastructure can be developed in a more cost-effective way. Likewise, we will also continue to support the use of the SASB standards, that's the industry-specific standards, and capacity building. Also with adoption, so there are 3 core areas: implementation, adoption, and in terms of our own work plan going forward, we have published and initiated the 2-year work plan, and we've started work on future priority consultations, and also will continue to receive feedback from you in this regard. These are the 2 themes of the ISSB projects for the 2 new research areas: human capital, which of course we know that Africa's human capital is a huge resource to our work. We are exporting our manpower all over the world, and I'm always extremely proud of it. I always say that I'm an African import temporarily with the IFRS Foundation, and I will definitely be returning home with everything that I learned, but hopefully also continue to learn and continue to be engaged and committed to the work that we do on the continent, even while here, because of my connection with you and because you're always reaching out and because we have this ongoing and continuous dialogue. Likewise, and this will be my last point on biodiversity ecosystems and ecosystem services, this is a significant area of potential opportunity for the African continent. And your input and insight is so absolutely essential in terms of developing the new research that we're working on right now. So these are not standards just yet. The standards will be developed based on this research phase, and we will be reaching out, and I'm asking, actually almost encouraging, almost pleading for your continuous and consistent engagement to ensure that as we develop research in these two areas of future agenda priorities, that Africa's voice continues to be heard like it was among the digital taxonomy, so that these standards continue to be our standards. And one of the phrases that I picked up very early on from some of our colleagues is that we are standard setters on the African continent, not just standard takers. And that's the way the ISSB standards have become as rich as they have. And this is my closing slide. It has links to different, the podcasts, the live consultations, it has digital financial reporting resources, everything here on the link, and you will be shared, or these slides will be shared with you in this regard. And I think I can now go back into the main screen. Yes, I can. And thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndidi, for that detailed presentation. I would like to invite our President to come and take us through the adoption of the standards. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Dr. Ndidi. Dr. Ndidi, thank you very much for sparing your time to come and speak to the accountants, even amidst the difficult time that you're going through, and please accept our condolences on the loss of your mom, and I hope that the ceremony goes well today. And we are also proud to have you represent Africa on the ISSB board. Your presentation has been very enlightening, and as you said, sustainability standards really help unlock capital, and particularly for an economy like Uganda, it's something that we are looking to see that change our economy. We also look to collaborating with you in terms of capacity building, and I think the Institute will be reaching out. So at this point, we would formally like to adopt, to make our pronouncement. So all protocol observed. As you've heard, the International Sustainability Standards Board was established by the International Financial Reporting Standards Foundation and issued a comprehensive global baseline for disclosure standards to facilitate consistent and comparable disclosures on risks and opportunities related to sustainability and climate. And these are referred to as IFRS 1 and IFRS 2, respectively. So the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards address long-standing reporting challenges and equipping companies and investors to better understand performance and compliance with the ever-evolving regulations. So the ICPAU Council, at its meeting on the 7th of August 2024, approved the adoption of the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards issued by the ISSB board for use in Uganda. Initially and consequently, new or amended sustainability disclosure standards and interpretations will become applicable as and when they are issued by the ISSB board. Other than in circumstances where jurisdictional modifications may be considered relevant, In such circumstances, new and amended sustainability disclosure standards and interpretations shall become applicable as shall be guided by the Council. Secondly, the finalization and implementation guidance, which is the roadmap on adopting the sustainability disclosure standards upon the conclusion of the ongoing, will happen upon the conclusion of the ongoing public consultation. So why did we choose to adopt the standards? In Council's view, the policy rationale for the adoption of the IFRS sustainability standards is to, 1, improve the availability of reliable, comparable, cost-effective, and decision-useful material information on sustainability-related risks and opportunities for organizations. 2, promote full disclosure of sustainability-related information material to investor decisions to ensure investor protection. 3, to enable the use of other complementary reporting frameworks, such as the Global Reporting Initiative, to meet the information needs of different stakeholders to the extent permitted by the sustainability disclosure standards. 4, to improve domestic entities' access to foreign capital markets and to encourage foreign direct investments, including access to green financing. And 5, to support availability and the flow of sustainability information across the supply chain. So in the implementation of the sustainability disclosure standards, a lot of collaboration effort is required from regulators, business associations, trainers, and policymakers, as well as other stakeholders to effectively deliver pathways that guarantee meaningful application of these standards. So I'm therefore calling upon all the entities represented here, especially those that we've identified to be among the most crucial entities to drive the sustainability disclosure standards implementation agenda. So in a special way, I would like to thank the following entities who have committed representation here to witness today's pronouncement: the IFRS Foundation and the International Sustainability Standards Board in particular, Office of the Accountant General, Office of the Auditor General, Bank of Uganda, the Insurance Regulatory Authority, Institute of Internal Auditors Uganda, Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, Capital Markets Authority, the NGO Bureau, Uganda Manufacturers Association, Uganda Securities Exchange, the Uganda Institute of Banking and Financial Services Institute, and the Insurance Training College of Uganda. We would like to extend our gratitude also to all individuals and organizations that have so far shared feedback on the roadmap to align with the IFRS sustainability disclosure standards. So ICPA is going to continue working with other industry players and regulators to ensure full preparedness towards compliance with the new standards, and the Uganda Integrated Reporting Committee, working together with the Professional Standards Committee of ICPAU Council, will provide support to enhance the capacity of preparers and users of financial reports in interpreting and relaying sustainability and climate-related disclosures. The public consultation is still on, and the deadline for the comments is 15th September 2024. So feedback from this consultation will then be validated at a stakeholders meeting that will be held sometime before the end of the year. We'll communicate the date. And therefore, I encourage all of you who can share their views and participate in developing a workable roadmap for Uganda. To comment, you simply have to visit the Institute's website and access the consultation paper that is there. So thank you all very much for listening, and therefore at this point, Uganda adopts the sustainability standards. So ladies and gentlemen, at this point now we'll receive the message from our chief guest, and before she takes the stage, I'm hoping the production team is ready to run her profile. But while they organize themselves, our chief guest is no stranger to us. She was at the helm of Uganda Revenue Authority, where she's credited with the transformation of the organization. So, IT, can we run the profile?
Mrs. Anna Katina is the Executive Director of the Uganda National Water Authority. She previously served as the Commissioner General of the Uganda Revenue Authority, where she is credited with transforming the organization and raising revenue collections. Mrs. Katina holds a master's degree in public administration from the University of Liverpool, United Kingdom, and a master's degree in organizational leadership from Uganda Christian University.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our chief guest as she takes the stage to speak to us.
The President of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda, Madam Josephine Osia, the council members and management, guests, visitors from across the borders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am profoundly honored to be present at this 29th annual conference of the Institute, and a little out of my depth, because as I entered this room, I recognized eminent men and women across the room, and listening to Dr. Ndidi, realized that I should have prepared better. But I'm actually glad that we had that little change in the program, because it has given context and understanding to the comments that I'm going to make, and to actually, I think, the reason why I'm here. As I listened to Dr. Ndidi, I understood my role as the head of an infrastructure development institution that perhaps is a culprit in affecting the environment in which we work, and perhaps not doing enough to engender sustainability of the same environment. So thank you for inviting me. And as you listed that list, those institutions, organizations that signed up as implementers of these standards, I began to ask myself, I was waiting to hear UNRWA. I didn't hear it, so I'm going to have a side conversation with my team who are here, but would like actually to be registered as one of those institutions that will commit to implementing these sustainability standards. We are called upon to recognize that as we undertake development activities to meet the needs of the present generation, we cannot do so without affecting the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. So even as we work to build roads in UNRWA and other entities that are especially involved in infrastructure development, our minds cannot just be on the present, but on how the future generations, long after we've left, how they will cope. There's always a conflict between what we do in human development activities and sustainability of the environment and society where human activities are undertaken. For example, when we build big infrastructure like the one we are in, when we construct the Entebbe Expressway or the Karuma Bridge that will shortly be constructed, we inevitably destroy forests, swamps, and disrupt human activity. And without planning for sustainable replacement, then the work that we do can perhaps just benefit the very present generation, but will destroy future generations. We have seen in this country, I was looking at some past newspapers, of beaches, waterfronts, being destroyed to set up entertainment facilities. I think the work of NEMA is actually cut out in this regard because they're constantly evicting people out of Lubigi, as you know. Most of you will know that Lubigi is our drainage for Kampala, but Lubigi is overwhelmed, first of all, by the unplanned construction across the city, but also invasion of the swamp for construction purposes. Last week, I happened to be in one country whose river has been so polluted, the water is green, and this particular city was host to a very big sports event. And as you have read the newspapers, one country refused to use that river because of the pollution. Our own papers in the last 3 or so weeks have been awash with the disaster at Kitezi, and how hundreds of people, perhaps hundreds, I don't know how many, have been buried under there, lives destroyed, because in the effort of development, we have not built in the standards for managing the environment and restoration of the work that the destruction that we do. The inappropriate development or business practices eventually impact people and businesses in many ways. For example, when forests are destroyed, it leads to unfavorable climate change that affects other businesses and lives in many different ways. Last week, CNN reported a plane that was forced into emergency landing due to powerful turbulence that had been caused by hot air waves resulting from climate change. I think even back home here, we began in the last, especially 2-3 years, to almost annually experience El Nino. El Nino used to be a very remote event, maybe once every 10 years or so. But the climatic changes we're experiencing now, and we notice especially in the road sector, the heavy rains have become longer. They're heavier in volume, they are longer in event. What used to take 2.5 months now takes 4 months. Rains that began in October should have ended in December, continue up to February. And that is primarily because there's a lot of climatic change all across the world. When fresh water is polluted, it results into adverse health conditions, leading to increased health budget bills, unhealthy and hence unproductive workforce, or worse still, loss of lives. So we are seeing diseases and epidemics across the world, spreading faster, killing more people, putting a heavy toll on budgets, on health budgets across the world. And the expectation is that we who are educated, accountants, responsible for holding institutions like us accountable, should make this center stage in our work. But before the accountants make it center stage, the implementers like UNRWA and other infrastructure development agencies must make sustainability foundational in the work that we do. Personally, when I joined the institution, I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't know much about restoration of borrow pits, for example. I didn't know how that the work that we were doing was affecting the daily lives of the most vulnerable people. And when I opened the first contracts that I saw, the financial provision for environmental health and safety was very, very small. And it did not make sense to me why we who were an engineering institution needed to pay attention to matters like that. It didn't take long before I got the wake-up call, because in 2016, early 2016, the World Bank canceled funding to one of our key projects in the West. It wasn't because the road was not properly designed or the contractor was not implementing the specifications of the design. It was simply because the contractor did not pay attention to the social aspects of managing that contract. And the World Bank canceled over 40 million, I believe, US dollars. And the road was halfway open in the heavy rains, the longer rains. And so government had to find money very quickly to complete that road. It was also an election year, if you know what that means. So for me, that was my wake-up call, realizing that our contracts needed to change, that when we put out a tender, that we could no longer make the environmental health and social safeguards a side discussion. You know, like when you have your meal, you have your lunch, and there will be the starters, there will be the main course, and then there will be the dessert. Most of us don't take dessert because you're full. Well, these must not be seen as dessert options. Sustainability of the environment, care for society is extremely important in the work and must take center stage and must be part of the boardroom discussions that we have as we prepare for development of our countries. So what should we do? How do we model? What model should we put in place to drive sustainability and trust in business environments? Sustainability calls for a health coexistence of the business or development entities with the environment and society within which entities operate. Business sustainable practices may be summed up into three components: environmental stewardship, care for society or care for community, and then good governance. Three pillars: environmental stewardship, societal care, and good governance. Good stewardship for the environment requires that we build these standards within the documentation that we employ to do the work that we do. So that when the accountants are doing their job, when the auditors are auditing what we do, they are auditing our compliance to those standards. That's why I was keen to say that we would like to register as UNRA, because we do have standards, but I don't know how strictly we are held to account on implementation of those standards, especially for the projects that are funded by government of Uganda. For the projects that are funded by development partners, you have no choice. It is a requirement before you sign the financing agreement that you commit to implement the standards of the funder, whether it's World Bank or African Development Bank or the French development agencies, whoever is funding. How can we, as citizens of this country, pay less attention to our own environment and external parties have more concern about our own environment? I remember when we were going to construct the road through Budongo Forest, Masindi to Para, one of the foreign companies put up a very strong opposition against that construction. That foreign company is actually an investor in Uganda, in oil. They are in the same area, and they objected to us constructing the road, not because it was going to affect the operations, but it was going to affect the animals and the trees of Budongo Forest, because their camp is a bit farther than where we were doing the construction. And I was really impressed by their concern, and I thought, why did no Uganda company come up to oppose us? So of course we went through a lot of negotiations, changing the method of construction to make sure that the trees would be replaced, that the elephants would have an elephant crossing, that the baboons would not be killed, that the canopy would be restored. In fact, that was the bigger challenge, that you know, when you go through that Budongo Forest, there used to be a very big canopy. And monkeys would just move from tree to tree above, not below. When we removed the canopy, inevitably some baboons were killed because they could no longer jump, they could only cross on the tarmac. We had animals that would come to the tarmac and fail to cross because the tarmac was hot. And so they would stay one side, whereas their food was probably on the other side. And so it was incumbent upon us to ensure that that canopy is restored. And as you cross now, you will see that the canopy is coming back. But that was because there was emphasis at that time. I'm concerned about Mabira. Many of you travel through that road. I'm not talking about the tarmac. Right now, the tarmac is a bit of a problem for me. I'm talking about the canopy. We shall have good news soon. But when I was a child and drove through Mabira for the first time, I was so impressed. I'd never seen that. I'd never seen a road that goes through a forest with a complete canopy. It was actually dark. I was awestruck about that, you know, seeing a tree touching a tree across the road. Now, it's bare. In fact, the trees are almost just at, you know, on the verge of the road. Beyond there are plantations. And there is no canopy anymore. You just drive through clear sunshine. Isn't it a shame that we have actually allowed this to happen to our own country? So what ought we to do? Pay more attention, enforce it. And the best way to do this is not just to use coercion, because we have, you know, coercion will only take you so far. So we'll put it in our contracts, we will enforce it, you will come and audit us to see if we're complying. But we must move from coercion to compliance to cooperation, to the point where it is me, the implementer, who raises the noise against cutting trees and destroying our ecosystems. So good stewardship of the environment should move from the boardrooms to the responsibility of every single man and woman. And this business of waiting for government to enforce things means things have not worked well. Secondly, care for the interests and well-being of the stakeholders. The work that we do in developing our economies, in developing our countries, in civilization really, will affect all of us. But we must have all of us at the back of our mind as we design strategies for development. In the work that we do again in Uganda National Roads Authority, we affect societies, we displace people. When we're constructing roads, we'll come and buy land and move people, often give them money and ask them to move elsewhere. But you know, some of those people are really vulnerable people. The moment you give them money, they will go and pay off their loans. Some men will buy a second wife. I am not wrong, you know this. And on, because of the desperation, people tend to spend the money you give them. It's like a windfall. But they must live beyond tomorrow. And so one of the requirements now, especially by development partners, is that we actually construct houses. If you've displaced somebody from Kasokoso, like where we're going to build the expressway, Kampala-Jinja Expressway, build a house for them. If they're able to move to another place, yes, and Cabinet has approved that, so I am glad that now I can look for the money for it. If they're able to build their own house, then you must train them in financial literacy. Giving somebody 500 million who has not earned $1 million, can cause people to die of happiness. So we must train people. You really must train people on how to invest, how to save for the future. So it is a requirement upon us now that we do financial literacy for the people that we compensate. And not complicated financial literacy, because a lot of our people where we plant these roads are semi-educated. And so simplifying education is really, really important. But also we work with people who come from one part of the country and go and work in another part of the country, and perhaps cultures clash. One of our jobs is to make sure that we talk to the communities to be aware of who's coming into their society, to integrate with them, to help them settle. But also talk to those who are coming in, not to disrupt the lives of the communities they've found. We've had instances of young girls getting defiled because the person who has come from one part of the country has no responsibility, no connections to that community. They can do whatever they want and leave. So care for the society is one of the ways that we can engender sustainability and trust in the work that we do. And then good governance. Good leadership and good governance processes support sustainability in development. Before an entity can coexist with others, it must itself exist. Effective leadership and governance processes help an entity chart a successful path, navigate business storms, survive and thrive. Good governance processes include establishing adequate and effective systems, establishing proper employee structure with credible employees, establishing effective risk management processes, instituting effective business continuity programs, instituting research and innovation, leveraging technology. I have found in my few years in public service that businesses, governments succeed or collapse on good governance. There is no shortcut to building accountability in organizations. There is just simply it's not replaceable with investment, with money. It is not replaceable with skills. Good governance is what drives business success. And my own experience in the privilege that I've had to run two fairly large institutions, good governance has been the driver of transformation. When you're able to build trust, have a trust contract with your staff and with the community that you serve, you are able then to make development and development visible. For example, right now, I think roads are visible across the country. And I have to disclaim at this point, I'm not responsible for Kampala, just in case you raise Kampala. But I think she's doing a good job. But a social contract with your people is what allows you to succeed in the entity that you have, or in the institution that you're happy, you're privileged, I think, to serve as I have been. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to be here at this 29th annual conference, to participate with you in this key important topic of building and driving sustainability and trust. And so with those few words, it is now my honor and pleasure to declare the ISPAO 2024 annual conference open.
Thank you very much, our guest speaker. We're honored to hear from you, especially the assurance you have given us about roads. We also took note of the disclaimer, and we will not discuss the disclaimer. As an institute, it is our practice to say thank you to those who interact with us and share their thoughts, their wisdom with us. So we have a token of appreciation for you. We are bound by our ethical standards, and we trust you're also bound by similar standards. So we have done our research to make sure it is nominal, but with substantial value. Not necessarily monetary. So, Madam President, if you can please come and do the honors. There's no certificate. It's just the bag and the shoes. For the audience, what we have is a bag, our CPA branded bag, and our CPA branded shirt, or in this case, it's a blouse. And we look forward to seeing photos of Madam Kajina putting on the blouse. It's very beautiful. With those few remarks, I would like to say that the morning session is come to a close, and we will be having a photo moment, and I would like to invite the team on the podium to join us for the photo moment, as we are guided by Jackie, who is in charge of this session. For the rest, I hand over to the one and only Daudi, with his wit and his perennial attacks on me, which I have come to learn how to live. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I don't attack you. I say the truth about you. So please take it from me that those are not attacks, but facts. Thank you. The people from at the podium are going to be joined by all the presidents present, council members, and leaders and their second in command of the institutes from the region, Kenya, Burundi, Tanzania. Please, as we do this, I don't believe you have to wait for me to finish. Please come and pose for the photo the talking goes on. You know, there was the leader of government business came here and said, all our presidents should acquire a name. Zakayo Begumisa, go here. Zakayo Chibedi, he was here and he told us there are Zakayos. Please, ICPR, come, NBA, and they will be joined by the generals. Madam Chief Guest, you have generals in the profession. Yeah, and 2 of them are here. The Accountant General is here. Internal Auditor General is here. Members of Council, please join. And as these big people are taking their photos, I request all the family of the UNRWA family to get prepared, because as soon as this photo is done, you and the URA present and former family, we are going to be here. And as this photograph is taken, I also request members of PAYEB present to come forward, because we are going to have a photo moment with the chief guest. Okay, I think this one is done because I started calling a long time ago. Now, you people going out, where are you going? Who told you there is tea? I've got the authority to stop you from eating. Now, for your guidance, all the people you have your books. I will not go through what the medical camp is offering, but look at page 18. Leisure activities, look at page 19. Blood donation and a heart for Chitezi, page 53. Remember, blood donation is emphasized for today, because you still have pure blood. Tomorrow it may be diluted blood because of the night-time activities. I did tell you about a book, Reflections of Resilience, and at that time I had not read it, but now I've read it. And I would like to invite you to buy a copy first and read poem number 10 on page 12. It's titled Echoes of Tomorrow, and it fits in properly with what we've been sharing from Dr. Ndidi and Mrs. Kajina. It's about sustainability. Now it's time for me to welcome another set of very important people, the CEOs of the Insurance Training Institute, the Institute of Banking and Financial Services, and the Institute of Internal Auditors. The CEOs are here, plus the President of the Institute of Internal Auditors, our own CPA, Kasatia Moses. UNRWA, URA, please, it's your turn. Former and present staff. UNRWA, URA, Protasio, Zakayo Protasio. UNRWA and URA, former and present staff, are required in this picture. Okay. Please do it as fast as possible. Now, these two institutions seem to be accounting for half the attendance. And cameraman, don't wait for anybody. When you are ready, just take. Those who miss will have missed. Cameraman, I'm giving you 5 seconds, and I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, URA staff leave the picture and remains only UNRWA. Another 5 minutes. Sorry? Somebody is pleading here that UNRWA and URA split. You fight each other, the winner stays and... Okay. URA first leave the photo for UNRWA. You see, Mrs. Kajina is a Narong of organizations. She has mothered two very powerful organizations, and each one claims her as sir. Sorry? Insurance, when you go and have your photo moment. Now, time for break has passed. We have already exhausted our break time. But CEOs and delegations from East Africa, please come and take a photo with our chief guest and the generals. Yes, what do you want? Yeah? Okay, now we are going to have a 10 minutes break and come back here at 25 to midday. Thank you.
Transact every day, doing cash when you send, or buy data and you're winning. Transact every day, doing cash when you send, or buy data and you're winning. Transact every day, doing cash when you send, or buy data and you're winning.
Lamaja with Airtel Money. Transact using Airtel Money and stand a chance to win a brand new Toyota RAV4 hybrid car, border borders, money, and many more other prizes. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless. Airtel Money is regulated by the Bank of Uganda.
Where does it come from? That thing that makes us Ugandan. Some say it's in our history, in our culture, and in our hearts, in our warm smiles and vast miles of coffee. It's in our inherent pursuit to always be better, to never stop growing and glowing. We are a nation of sweat and skills, a nation of ideas and inventions. But what truly makes us Ugandan is our quest to invest in agribusiness, manufacturing, tourism, infrastructure, health, and education to improve the quality of life of Ugandans. That's what makes us Uganda Development Bank.
Uganda Development Bank, inspiring development.
From here, possibilities are everywhere. From taking first steps here, to beginning your own wealth journey here. From backing global trade ambitions here, to delivering on that promise here. That's why we're here, in the world's most dynamic markets. A bank that connects potential to possibilities. So, where will you go from here?
In the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Wendy, Wanawoli. In the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Wendy, Wanawoli. In the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Wendy, Wanawoli.
There will be moments in life when things will come to a halt. Despite all the drive you have, there will be moments when no matter how hard you try, you just can't keep up with your momentum. There will be moments in time when things just don't go according to your plans. There will be moments when what you depend on to thrive will let you down. Get empowered to get to where you're going. Get empowered to keep up the momentum of your dreams. Get empowered to go for what's meant for you. Get empowered to take on life's difficult situations. Get empowered to do more for yourself with Postbank. Postbank, empowering you. Postbank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda.
The more your money works for you, the less you have to work for money. Most of us don't know what this means. We often find ourselves burdened with questions like, how can I save? Where should I invest my money? How can I budget to meet my needs with the money I earn? What can I do about my recurring debt? Benjamin Franklin once said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. And with the NSSF Financial Wellness Program, you get the best financial literacy to get you on the path to financial freedom. Become better at income diversification, debt management, saving, investment, and much more. Apply for the free NSSF Financial Wellness Program. Visit www.nssfug.org/financial literacy or dial *254# or call 0800-286-773 toll free for details.
NSSF, a better life.
At least that's how I imagine my life to be like. But my boss hasn't paid my NSSF command for 6 months. Azunga ambu economy.
Everyone wakes up to a day of hard work. To get hold of that new opportunity in order to live a better life. And everyone deserves a chance to change their circumstances and rewrite their story. Be inspired by the future, imagine it and live it. To shape the future and be able to withstand life's surprises. To ensure that tomorrow will be a better day.
Now you can.
Now you can. Now you can.
Now you can. Now you can.
Secure their future. The NSSF Amendment Act now requires all formally registered employers to make monthly NSSF contributions for their staff, regardless of the number of staff they employ. NSSF, a better life.
If you have never registered for your national ID, or you registered but have never got it, dial *216# and check any of the following. Status of your national ID, NIN, how to apply for a national ID, how to correct information on your card.
Check microphone 1 2.
Your national ID
Check.
all your transactions. For more information, please call
microphone.
0312 119 605 or visit our website nira.co.ug. This message is brought to you by NIRA.
Did you know it is mandatory to have all births registered and a birth certificate issued? Failure to do so attracts a penalty of imprisonment or a fine. It's proof of age and belonging to parents, protects and provides children with legal rights from crimes and abuse like defilement and child labor. Give your children a good future today and have their birth certificates. For more information, visit the NIRA office in your area or visit our website www.nira.go.ug. This message is brought to you by NIRA.
It's our mission to secure your money.
Protecting your money is as important as earning it. It is for this reason that the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda, DPF, is established by the government of Uganda to provide deposit protection to customers of regulated financial institutions. In the unlikely event that your commercial bank, credit institution, or microfinance deposit-taking institution fails, the DPF will pay you up to 10 million Uganda shillings. Keep your personal information such as national identification
people are looking at
number,
me and they're
mobile
like,
phone,
oh,
or
no, what
alternative bank account updated with your banker. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, contact DPF at Aha Towers, Plot 7 Lodell Road, Kampala. Call 0312 206 400 or visit our website at www.dpf.or.ug.
In a world where
Irena, can you hurry up,
spread
please?
rapidly, where disruption is imminent and competition is relentless, every business needs a
I welcome
partner
you all.
to ensure that you maximize profitability
I welcome
and
you
guarantee
all.
competitive returns for
Today
investors to peer into the future and predict favorable investments, to perform expert financial
Today's
analysis and
workshop.
help you make sense of the numbers, to downgrade your
Are
risk
we done?
liability, keep
We
your
done?
taxes in order, and validate your accounts, ensuring that you stay ahead. Every business needs a certified public accountant. Be that strategic business partner.
You'll get it.
Enroll for CPA
Irena
today at
is the most stubborn girl I've met since we began, and I welcome her here.
ICPAU nga bakolagana ne Capital Markets Authority, Uganda Securities Exchange ne New Vision bakuleetedde empaka za Fire Awards 2024 wansi w'omulamwa okutumbula enkola ensukulumu mu alipoota z'ebitongole okulaga enkola ya ESG n'enkulaakulana era ebitongole byonna biyitibwa okuweereza alipoota zaabwe ez'omwaka ku mutimbagano gwaffe ogwa icpau.co.ug/Fire Awards oba okuzireeta ku ofiisi zaffe eza ICPAU.
Me say 1 million, 1 million. Airtel money gives you more than a million. Me no see mama nyabo tata seba kubako Airtel you transact frumula. We no boda. Rafo hybrid D.
Ulumula macha, transact every day. When cash on the send, you buy data and you're winning. Ulumula macha, transact every day. Win cash when you data and you're winning. Ulumula macha, transact every day. Win cash when you send, or buy data and you're winning.
Job with Airtel Money. Transact using Airtel Money and stand a chance to win a brand new Toyota RAV4 hybrid car, border borders, money, and many more other prizes.
Where does it come from? That thing that makes us Ugandan. Some say it's in our history, in our culture, and in our hearts, in our warm smiles and vast miles of coffee. It's in our inherent pursuit to always be better, to never stop growing and glowing. We are a nation of sweat and skills, a nation of ideas and inventions. But what truly makes us Ugandan is our quest to invest in agribusiness, manufacturing, tourism, infrastructure, health, and education to improve the quality of life of Ugandans. That's what makes us Uganda Development Bank.
Uganda Development Bank, inspiring development.
From here, possibilities are everywhere. From taking first steps here, to beginning your own wealth journey here. From backing global trade ambitions here, to delivering on that promise here. That's why we're here, in the world's most dynamic markets. A bank that connects potential to possibilities. So, where will you go from here?
In the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Wendy, Wanawoli. In the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Wendy, Wanawoli. In the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Wendy, Wanawoli. There will be moments in life when things will come to a halt. Despite all the drive you have, there will be moments when no matter how hard you try, you just can't keep up with your momentum. There will be moments in time when things just don't go according to your plans. There will be moments when what you depend on to thrive will let you down. Get empowered to get to where you're going. Get empowered to keep up the momentum of your dreams. Get empowered to go for what's meant for you. Get empowered to take on life's difficult situations. Get empowered to do more for yourself with Postbank. Postbank, empowering you. Postbank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda.
The more your money works for you, the less you have to work for money. Most of us don't know what this means. We often find ourselves burdened with questions like, how can I save? Where should I invest my money? How can I budget to meet my needs with the money I earn? What can I do about my recurring debt? Benjamin Franklin once said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. And with the NSSF Financial Wellness Program, you get the best financial literacy to get you on the path to financial freedom. Become better at income diversification, debt management, saving, investment, and much more. Apply for the free NSSF Financial Wellness Program. Visit www.nssfug.org/financial literacy or dial *254# or call 0800 286 773 toll free for details.
NSSF, a better life.
At least that's how I imagine my life to be like. But my boss hasn't paid my NSSF money for 6 months. Azunga ambu economy.
Everyone wakes up to a day of hard work. To get hold of that new opportunity in order to live a better life. And everyone deserves a chance to change their circumstances and rewrite their story. Be inspired by the future. Imagine it and live it. To shape the future and be able to withstand life's surprises. To ensure that tomorrow will be a better day.
Now you can.
Now you can. Now you can.
Now you can. Now you can.
Secure their future. The NSSF Amendment Act now requires all formally registered employers to make monthly NSSF contributions for their staff regardless of the number of staff they employ. NSSF, a better life.
If you have never registered for your national ID or you registered but have never got it, dial *216# and check any of the following. Status of your national ID, NIN, how to apply for a national ID, how to correct information on your card, replace ID. Your national ID is the key to all your transactions. For more information, please call 0312-119-605 or visit our website, nira.go.ug. This message is brought to you by NIRA.
Did you know it is mandatory to have all births registered and a birth certificate issued? Failure to do so attracts a penalty of imprisonment or a fine. It's proof of age and belonging to parents, protects and provides children with legal rights from crimes and abuse like defilement and child labor. Give your children a good future today and have their birth certificates. For more information, visit the NIRA office in your area or visit our website www.nira.go.ug. This message is brought to you by NIRA.
It's our mission to secure your money.
Protecting your money is as important as earning it. It is for this reason that the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda, DPF, was established by the government of Uganda to provide deposit protection to customers of regulated financial institutions. In the unlikely event that your commercial bank
tata seba kuba ku Airtel you transact Frumula winna boda boda Rafa hybrid
Ulumula Macha, transact every day. Win cash when you send, or buy data and you're winning. Kati Ulumula Macha, transact every day. Win cash when you send, or buy data and you're winning. Kati Ulumula Macha, transact every day. Win cash when you send, or buy data and you're winning.
From Maja with Airtel Money. Transact using Airtel Money and stand a chance to win a brand new Toyota RAV4 hybrid car, border borders, money, and many more other prizes. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless. Airtel Money is regulated by the Bank of Uganda.
Good morning. Good morning, good people. I will not say good people of God because I don't know about some people. I may assume everybody believes in a spiritual being like me, but surprises never end. Welcome back from your extended break, extended without permission by 15 minutes actually. I would like to invite the next chair, the chair for the session. Sorry? The sixth president of ICPAU, CPA Ben Patrick. Kaguru. In the other election, there was somebody's names rhyming. This I thought he was the one. Ben Patrick is the chairman of the board of directors. I will use memory because it's not here. Debt Protection Fund. Yeah, but when you deposit money, you are giving a debt to the bank. Am I wrong? They become your debtors. Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda. He holds an MBA in financial management from the University of Manchester in the UK. He received his accountancy training from the London School of Accountancy. He's a member of the Chartered Institute of Secretaries and Administrators, ICSA, Certified Public Accountant of Uganda, and an associate member of the Chartered Management Accountants, SCMA. He has extensive experience in central banking, finances, the private sector, and non-for-profit organization, not-for-profit organization. He has previously served as the president of ICPO, sixth president, and the chairman of PAEB. He has over 25 years experience in central banking, having worked at the Bank of Uganda in different capacities up to the level of executive director, finance. Before joining Bank of Uganda, he served as assistant finance and procurement officer on road construction projects for HP Gulf, whatever, you will correct me, is it Gulf Consulting Engineers. He's the chairman, board of directors, Eagle Air Uganda Limited. Please join me in welcoming Ben Patrick Kagoro.
Oops. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, CPAs. Wonderful. The president observed all the protocol, so I may not observe the protocol, but I see very powerful men seated in front here. Hey, doctor, I recognize you. Accountant General, sir, I do recognize you. And our colleagues from the neighboring states. I know the verb to eat is very important. People are still having their meal. I don't know, somebody needs to ring a bell so that they can come up. Yes, Mr. President? Okay. We are going to start, but I'm going to borrow something from a book, this book here. It is called Reflections of Sustainability. But the author chose to replace sustainability with resilience. I know, Doctor, you've written many books. You should get one of these books and you read it. And page 12, Echoes of Tomorrow. With each step we take and each choice we make, the future we observe, its foundations we take. Our forests, our rivers, our oceans so wide. Will they flourish in splendor or in sorrow abide? Therefore, let us honor the earth with wisdom and grace, cultivate justice and cherish each place. For we do not inherit this world. We borrow its promise from the great-grandchildren of man. May we rise to our duty with vision and care to protect and to nurture the burdens we share, so that when our time passes and we are but a name, we leave echoes of hope, not shadows of shame. And that's the theme to do with sustainability. So please get yourself a copy. This is a short commercial. It is written by our president, CPA Frederick Wanume Kibedi. Only available at just under 40,000 Uganda shillings. It's a good book to read. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was looking through the program book. I saw something very interesting which needs maybe correction. The vision for KCCA reads, to be a vibrant, attractive, and sustainable city. I see two doctors, they are smiling. We need to correct. Is this good English? Vibrant, attractive. Maybe there's something missing. It could have been a typo. But it's a very good theme. It's a very good vision. As to whether it is achievable or not, I don't know. Then ICPA theme today is driving sustainability and trust. And the person to devolve into this is none other, been honored to be the chair, is none other than Madam Caroline Keegan, whom I have known for over 10 years when she was CEO of CPA Kenya. She's a fellow of the Chartered Public Accountants of Kenya. But where is the IT person, please?
FCPA Caroline Debek Kigen
is a former Chief Executive Officer of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya. From 2013 to 2016, she was the chair of the Professional Accountancy Organization Development Committee, and prior to that, the deputy chair of the Compliance Advisory Panel of the International Federation of Accountants. She was a member of the task force which reviewed and amended the Accountants Act in Kenya. In recognition of her contribution to the accountancy profession, FCPA Kigen was in 2010 named one of the top 40 women under the age of 40 in Kenya by the Business Day. She holds a master's degree in business administration from the University of Nairobi.
Wonderful. FCPA Kigan, please come over.
I must demand some claps because, you know, I've traveled from very far. And when I was coming here, some people in my house told me, remember there was the Olympics in Paris the other day. And so we were in the house, we are busy in the kitchen, but you can hear Olympics going on, the marathon going on. Remember, marathon is how many hours? 2 hours, you know, something like that. And then we were hearing, Cheptegei, number one, Cheptegei. So us, we are happy just to go and look at the screen and discover he's a Ugandan. So, could you please return our Kenyans? Pardon? No. Please. You people decided to do whatever you did and you took our Kenyans. We want them back, including the golds, all the medals that they've won. But anyway, my name is Caroline, as the chair has said of the session. I am not new to ISPAU or to the accounting profession, and I'm very happy to be here, very happy to be received by yourselves. I think it is true that your hospitality is quite good as Ugandans. In the morning, the Madam Chair, the chief guest, talked about people building houses. And my question was, is that house for first wife or for second wife? I hope it is for first wife. All of the above. So what is the importance of a PAO, a professional accountancy organization? We are all here seated. We are all members. For those of us in Kenya, we also use fellow of CPA, but I'm told for here we do not use fellow, you just use CPA. But we are here and we are proudly holding out ourselves as professional accountants, as members of an institute. Why are we here holding ourselves, you know, proud, carrying that title? You introduce yourself and you say, I'm CPA, so and so, and I'm a member of a professional accountancy organization. Is there a role I play in the economy as a member of a PAO? Is there extra responsibility placed upon me because I'm a member of ISPAU, because I'm a member of ISPAC, ISPAR, I think are here, NBAA is also here. And I dare say that there is additional responsibility that is placed upon us. And last time I was here, I think I gave a story of one staff member who had done some accounts and was being questioned by the Public Accounts Committee. And you know, just to demonstrate how powerful and how influential we are as accountants, the chair of that committee kept asking this fellow, "Are you a member of ISPAC?" So he trembled, eh? And you know when we tremble what it means, eh? Are we telling the truth? When we shake, when our voices shake? So the chair changed his mind and said, no, actually I don't want you to be a member of ISPAC. I want you to answer the question whether you are a member in good standing. And this was in Parliament. So can you see how a professional body can develop its reputation, can ensure that their members command respect? Oh, and the fellow was not a member in good standing. So guess what? He was actually chased and was told, no, you shouldn't have signed these accounts because you have lied to us that you're a member in good standing. So we carry an onerous responsibility as members of a profession. And our institutes must offer us support so that we can then contribute, create value, contribute value, support the economies in which we live in. We are, I think, one of the largest professional bodies, especially if you look at East Africa. We are one of those who are very organized. We are one of those who've got standards, but we also have a huge responsibility. So why must we focus on a sustainable economy? And I would like to narrate the story of Kenyans, the so-called, are they so-called? I hope my children don't hear me saying that, the Gen Zs. And the Gen Zs did what in Kenya? Shocked everybody, because they went to the streets, they protested peacefully, they were not violent. Can you imagine my shock and horror when in the evening my daughter comes back home and she'd been in Maandamano? And I was livid thinking, you know, this generation, what are you doing going to the streets? But what were those young people talking about? What were those young people telling us? They were telling us it's as if you have messed up our future. We want an economy that is sustainable today, that is sustainable in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term. That is what that generation was challenging us. I think they were trying to tell us that we've messed up. That yes, we have an economy, but is it a sustainable economy? Are we growing economically? Are we using our resources efficiently? Today morning, you were told about the natural resources of which Africa is, I think we have the largest natural resources, but are we taking care of those natural resources? If you hear the stories of the past, I was reading Wangari Maathai's book, Unbowed, and she said when she grew up as a child, the reason she went into environmental issues, when she grew up as a child, there was a river and they would go and fetch water from that river and they would go and drink that water from the river. But as she grew up, she kept seeing the river getting dirty. And I'm sure that's not a story of just one country. It's a story of Africa. So we need to, even as we are doing our accounting work, we need to realize that we are not operating in isolation. We're not operating within the confines of the little corporation, the little company that we are working in. The decisions that you make as you're preparing your accounts, the information that you share with your boards, the information that you share with your shareholders must lead us to an economy that is sustainable. So what are some of the factors that we need to focus on as a profession?